Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Bernhardt, for your willingness to be considered for this important position. I want to note at the outset, you're someone who I first met, I think, 14 years ago or so. And in my every interaction with you, I've been impressed at the care that you've demonstrated to following the law, making sure that at every step in your service in government, you're following the standards that are expected of the department and that are compelled by law. I have deep respect for that. It's not always a fun or an easy task to be in that role. And yet, in my every interaction with you and every action that you've undertaken that I've been able to observe even from afar, you have impressed me as an administrator, as a legal mind, and as a citizen who has an unusually compelling commitment to the rule of law and to sound public policy. I appreciate that about you. You are someone who enjoys the support of groups of sportsmen, of outdoor recreationalists, of wildlife groups, and of many others who advocate aggressively to make sure that they maintain access to public lands for the things that they want to use it for. Multiple use is, of course, an important part of our public lands management policy. And a lot of these people want to make sure that their interests aren't overlooked and that they're taken into account. What would you do as far as adopting specific policies that could help ensure that the voices of those stakeholders who have great interest in and care a lot about our federal public lands, to make sure that their voices are heard?
Well, we've taken one step last week, as a matter of fact, Senator. I really appreciate the question. At the end of the day, public access for folks to get out and use and utilize and enjoy our lands, whether it's for hunting and fishing, for backpacking, it's so critical. And one of the things I did is I issued an order to BLM that basically says simply, if you're thinking about disposing of a piece of land or you're thinking about exchanging a piece of land, before you can do that at all, you need to consider the public access benefit of that land so that that's treated just like other high priorities of FLTMA in analyzing that piece of property. We have opened and we continue to open acreage for hunting and fishing, for additional lands. We are on a mission where we've taken and have 12 full-time folks in the Fish and Wildlife Service that are trying to coordinate to ensure that we have better hunting and fishing opportunities, that our state law and our laws, our regulations are carefully constructed to not impede each other. And we're doing some great things with that. The reality is people love our lands, and they enjoy them, and the more folks out there, the better.
Yeah. You know, you've been nominated to a position that is involved in a lot of decisions that are sometimes controversial, and yet it's also a position in which there's a lot that makes people happy. There's not a lot that makes the people happy about the federal government these days. We live in a day and age when Congress enjoys an institutional approval rating that hovers between 9 and 11%, making us slightly less popular than Fidel Castro in America, slightly more popular than the influenza virus, which is inexplicably gaining on us. One of the things about the federal government people still like, that still makes them happy with the federal government in particular, is the national park system. They like that. They enjoy it. They want to make sure that they continue to have access to their national parks, and that the maintenance backlog doesn't interfere with their ability to access it. What kinds of things do you have in mind to make sure that people will continue to be happy with at least that part of our government?
Well, the confirmation process is such an interesting opportunity to visit with all of you. And almost every member said the same thing to me, and I think it gives us a lot of hope. I think you have a real opportunity to build on the bipartisan success that you've had with this lands package by working with us and together on the Restore Our Parks package. That's something that we've proposed, and we manage about 76,000 constructed assets across the park system. I was in Acadia. You could actually look through a cinder block building and see the outside. Over 54% of our asset portfolio was constructed before 1966. And there is such a need to make a real investment there. So I'm really hopeful. Almost every member I met with brought it up. Love to work with you on it.
Thank you, Mr. Bernhardt. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator.